Welcome back. We're joined by U.S. Senator Gary Peters, Democrat from Michigan. He just voted yes, along with most of the U.S. Senate, on this coronavirus relief bill. We should mention 80 cases in your home state. For folks watching, a lot happening. What does today's new Senate bill do?
Well, I think it's an important first step. Clearly, we're going to have to do more, but this was a meaningful step forward to deal with folks who are suddenly finding themselves now unemployed, particularly now with closures of restaurants, bars, other small businesses across our country. It'll beef up unemployment insurance, make sure people can get that money coming into their household. It'll also provide money for medical leave. Right now, many folks, particularly in small businesses, don't have paid leave. If they're sick and go home, they don't get paid. If they're sick or working with a sick parent or relative, they don't get paid. This will provide resources for those families to be able to pay their bills and to be able to put food on the table. It also deals with food assistance for those folks who are suffering a particularly tough time. And also, extremely important, is to make sure that everybody does not have to pay for a test. There are no co-pays when you go forward and get a COVID test. It'll be completely paid for. So this is a meaningful step, but I think there's broad consensus with everybody in the Senate that we got to do a whole lot more, particularly given what we're seeing happening in this economy right now, where we have to simultaneously deal with a public health crisis and an economic crisis at the same time, and it's going to take massive intervention to get through this.
What do you think of the proposals for cash payments to Americans during this time?
Well, certainly many folks now are suffering because they are finding themselves unemployed, and we need to have an infusion of cash to help folks. I think now the question is, how do you implement that? How do you do it effectively? And certainly those people who are in greatest need are the ones that should receive that funding. Somebody who may be working from home and is getting fully paid and is not seeing any change in their income stream, I'm not sure why that is a necessity. I think it is a necessity for folks who basically have no income. And that's why I'd like to see beefing up unemployment, for example. And people also need to know that this is not just going to be a one-time check. A one-time check could disappear pretty quickly if this crisis goes as long as we think it may go. And that's why having some stability with an unemployment system that folks know they'll be receiving a check for 20 or 26 weeks, to me, makes more sense.
We were looking at what you've been up to. You were writing about the restrictions on, as a border state, Canada travel. You said they could have serious implications for Michigan and could even hamper the COVID response efforts.
Right.
What do you think of that policy? What are you looking to have happen?
Well, we have concerns. We want to make sure we get the details. The details are still coming out. But whenever you're talking about trade with Canada, that's an important issue for us in Michigan. If Michigan were a country, we would be the second largest trading partner with Canada. We have 2 of the 3 busiest land border crossings in North America between Michigan and Canada. But in terms of COVID response, we also rely on folks who live in Canada and come across every day to work. And most importantly, right now, we have thousands of nurses who live in Windsor, Canada, and then come across the border to work in hospitals throughout southeast Michigan. We have to make sure those thousands of nurses are able to come across the border and provide health care for people in our state. And we want to make sure there's clarification to the fact that they can come across and they can do that in an unhindered way.
All makes sense and all important to hear what is going on in our federal government. Senator Gary Peters, as a U of M alum, I will also say thank you and go blue.
Very good. Go green, too.
There you go. Go green out in Lansing. Thanks very much for joining us. Up ahead,